and welcome to EBAday 2025 in Paris. I'm Hannah Wallace, and joining me on day 2 of the event in the studio is Sulabh Agarwal, Managing Director, Global Payments at Accenture. Sulabh, it's great to have you back in the studio. Thanks for joining us.
Pleased to be here again, Hannah.
I know you've had a very busy EBAday already, having been on a panel, so perhaps you could tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, yesterday we spoke about cross-border payments. It was attended by JPMC, Deutsche Bank, HSBC, and others on the panel, and SWIFT actually. And we had a good discussion as to how the cross-border payment space has got so much activity going on, including the whole interoperability of the real-time payment systems all the way to stablecoins. It was quite interesting. We did a poll to ask people what is really going to solve the current issues in cross-border payments, and it was unequivocally people, at least who are attending EBAday, they voted for interconnectedness of the real-time payment system as the potential answer to the cross-border payments issues that we are facing or challenges we are facing as an industry.
Well, on the topic of payment trends, and during these discussions you've already had over the event, what stand out as the most unique and distinctive trends that you're seeing?
Yeah, reinvention of money to me is a big change. Even though it came out quite low on the survey which we did in cross-border payments, I personally believe that the whole reinvention of money, digital euro, is being talked about quite a lot. There is a lot of talk about the stable coins which are emerging more from the US, like the Circle, the Tethers, the other tokenized deposits is something which is coming up again and again in the various conversations. Of course, there is the banks themselves issuing their own stable coins, there's the central banks and infrastructure. I think the whole reinvention of money, I would say, is a big topic in its own right, which is coming up. Some of the other things which have been a continuation of the trend, which includes real-time payments, SEPA Instant, getting to the deadlines along with verification of payee is a big topic of interest, and people are realizing, like some of the geographies like the UK has seen a big ball wave of fraud, and how the rest of Europe is going to tackle similar problems which are in store and going to come very quickly. And I don't think this conversation will be complete if I don't mention the word agentic AI. I would have said Gen AI last year, yes. But it is something that everyone is keeping their eyes and ears open in terms of how and what they do to apply some of the agentic AI and the AI principles in terms of the end-to-end payments value chain.
You've highlighted some big topics there, listed through them, and I'm also really interested to get your opinion on whether it's become harder to be a challenger, competitive in the market as a provider, payments provider. So what's your view on that?
Differentiation is harder because a lot of differentiation is based on technology. If you look at the last few years where we have got big payments differentiation, they have pretty much differentiated on technology evolution or revolution, if you want to say, with simple APIs, and then good customer convenient products, services, one-click experience on the other side of the fence. And I think them combined together has created the differentiation. What we're seeing is there's a lot of catch-up happening in the market, right? More and more organizations have invested quite a lot on both sides of the fence. So what used to be simple differentiation, because you've got a really good interface, is no longer that easy, or is not the only factor that needs to differentiate. I think your cost of operating the business, which kind of gives you the ability to reduce the costs, is still something. I think balance sheet, which is the forte of some of the bigger players, is coming back into play. High interest rate is creating a different environment where free money to be able to put out there for transaction and liquidity purposes is no longer easily available. The cost of liquidity has gone up quite substantially. So it is an interesting marketplace where differentiation is going to come through a variety of factors put together rather than improve the UX or technology.
That's a really interesting point. And during all of this change, we see relationships within the industry changing as well. And one of those big drivers for change is regulation and standardization. How are you seeing those impact the relationships between the banks and the fintechs and so on?
Yeah, I mean, partnerships is still quite an important factor in the payments ecosystem, at least I can say that, because, it takes the whole network to play. You can't just unilaterally come up with a payment instrument and hope that it will be a success. It needs the whole ecosystem to come together. So partnerships is still quite fundamental to how payments operate. But clearly, the way the technology is evolving, I mean, we were talking about the revolution of money in form of the various digital currencies and others. It is definitely changing the relationship, because you can then more unilaterally make an impact, though it does need to be interoperable with the rest of the market. So yes and no.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for your very holistic insights. I've got a good lay of the land. I'll let you get back to the busy event behind us. But Sulabh, thank you so much for coming in and speaking with us.
Thank you so much, Hannah, for having me. It's always a pleasure to speak to you.